Welcome back to Watch the Booker Man and to episode number 107 of Paul Heyman's TNA. And Impact this week begins with a video package recapping the events of last week's show, the ending that saw AJ Styles return to the company before Paul Heyman came out and announced the Bound for Glory main event. Bryan Danielson will defend the World Heavyweight Championship against AJ Styles and CM Punk 24 hours after his challengers face each other for the ROH World Championship at Glory by Honor. Tonight, AJ Styles' focus isn't championship gold, however. He will look to gain revenge on Samoa Joe, the man who put him out of action and who defeated him in a tables match the last time they met one-on-one. Mauro and Taz welcome us to the show before AJ Styles makes his entrance. Notably, he takes issue with Samoa Joe, CM Punk and Austin Aries all having had their hands on his title while he was gone. None of them earned that right, and it says everything about those men. AJ has more respect for their company's title than they have. It's true what they say, there is no honour among thieves. At Glory by Honor, he's going to beat CM Punk, and 24 hours later, he intends to leave Bound for Glory as both the ROH and TNA World Champions. Bryan Danielson comes out upon hearing this and speaks about respecting the title. He asks how much that meant to AJ last week when he put his hands on the TNA Championship, which belongs to Bryan. AJ rolls his eyes. He's not surprised to see this brought up, but he explains it was purely instinctual. He's been a TNA guy for 10 years. He's held that title before. It just happened, a momentary mind lapse. It was no indication of how he feels about either of these titles. Bryan says that it will be the last time that he gets his hand on that title, but even so, he isn't happy about AJ Styles and CM Punk both having the chance to leave Bound for Glory with both titles. Whoever wins between the two of them, he'll be happy after he beats both of them at Bound for Glory to challenge them and unify the titles later down the line. The two men go face to face. Bryan then leaving, he's not going to get physical given AJ has a match tonight, but it's clear that there is a lot of tension between AJ Styles and Bryan Danielson. Maybe not as personal as AJ Styles and CM Punk, but still they do not like each other, and it's been the case for quite a few months now, bubbling under the surface that Bryan also wants to have the World Heavyweight Championship of Ring of Honor alongside the TNA title. A really good segment between these two guys. Bryan, AJ, both doing really well in advancing our top storyline. The opening match sees Colt Cabana and El Generico team up to defeat Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black. Unsurprisingly, it is Jimmy Jacobs who is pinned by El Generico with a haluva kick. Tyler Black head and shoulders above everybody else there. Jimmy Jacobs actually the second best performer, so hopefully he did a good job of selling the offense of El Generico, as he is presented as somebody who's, well, he is a wrestler, he's obviously a trained wrestler and can do things in the ring. He's not been presented as somebody who'd be a serious threat, and of course he's just in there to take the fall. The reason Black's nowhere to be seen for the finish is because before hitting that haluva kick, he dived to the outside and took out Tyler Black. Colt Cabana then joins El Generico in the ring. Generico's focus remains on Tyler Black, who is down on the outside. The X-Division champion is handed his belt by the referee and hugs it close to his chest, clearly growing more concerned by the threat that El Generico is to this championship, and we really want him to put that over with his facial expressions that he is absolutely terrified of losing this title. El Generico once again makes clear his desire to face Tyler Black again, with the commentator saying that very few would disagree with the suggestion that he deserves a shot. He was in a match that involved Tyler Black tonight and came out on the winning side, so that's as much a reason as any. We then get a video package which is introduced by Mauro and Taz, and they look back at the return to the company of D'Angelo Dinero last week. He returned as the Monster Abyss, finally got close to laying his hands on Rosita. Who knows what would have happened if that was allowed to proceed. D'Angelo Dinero sent the man who had put him out of action for over a year packing. Tonight we will hear from D'Angelo Dinero, the first time we've heard him speak in 15 months, so hopefully a much anticipated return for D'Angelo Dinero, as Samoa Joe looks to promote the main event with Jeremy Borash, and he says just like when they faced off last, Samoa Joe is ready to destroy AJ Styles. He won't need to put AJ through a table to win the match this time, but since anything goes in the main event, he doesn't see any reason not to. AJ Styles has just returned from his injury. He's cleared to defend his title at Glory by Honor against CM Punk. However, once he gets in the ring with Samoa Joe tonight, his chances of making it to Bound for Glory weekend is less and less probable. Never mind main eventing Bound for Glory, he'll be lucky to make it to Glory by Honor. An average segment from Samoa Joe there as we move into the second match of the night. A decisive dominant victory from a focused and determined Tara. In 3 minutes and 54, she defeats Roxy with a Widow's Peak. And coming out from the back afterwards, the Knockouts champion Mickie James looks to confront Tara for the attack last week. Mickie is stopped in her tracks, however, as Tara takes a microphone and just asks her to hold on for 1 second. She understands that Mickie wants to fight her, but first, she thinks it'd be really good if Mickie listened to what she had to say. Reluctantly, Mickie does stop in her tracks, but she kind of makes it clear that anything that comes out of Tara's mouth that she doesn't like, she's coming straight to the ring. Tara appears to initially get emotional and tells Mickie that she is the only reason that she is still competing in a wrestling ring. She admits she has not dealt with the emotion she's been feeling well, but earlier this year, when she was considering hanging up her boots, it was thanks to Mickie that she carried on, and with everything that's gone on between them, that still counts for something. At No Surrender, she got the shot at the Knockouts Championship that she needed, and despite not being pinned, that opportunity passed her by. She hasn't slept properly since, thinking what could have been. She needs this shot more than anything in her life. She begs Mickie to give her another chance. Mickie isn't buying what Tara has to say, but Tara makes a statement that she hopes will convince her. One last match at Bound for Glory. If Tara doesn't leave as the champion, she'll retire from professional wrestling. Mickie James has her first response in saying, "And what if I say no? What if I reject this challenge?" Tara says, well, she guesses she'll just walk away right now. Tara then leaves the ring, walking past Mickie James and heading up the ramp. Mickie's kind of processing everything that's happened, so despite the fact she came out desperate to get her hands on Tara, she doesn't do anything as Tara leaves, and it's almost as if, despite everything with Tara, despite her clearly being very erratic and us not being able to know whether we can believe these emotions, the fact she has been willing to put her career on the line, and is basically saying if she doesn't get this, she'll leave anyway. Something is resonating with Mickie James, and she is considering this challenge. We then get a promo from a fired up Tyler Black. He's given a response to what went down earlier, and he's had enough of all the talk and conjecture from the fans and the commentators. He is willing to give El Generico another shot at the X Division title so he can shut this down and he can shut people up. However, he's had it with this company. These fans that ring everything about TNA that CM Punk has said is 100% true. That is why he's refusing to defend this title at Bound for Glory. He is contractually obligated to defend it once every 28 days, but by his count, that means he's more than entitled to defend it at Glory by Honor. He wants to bring El Generico back to a Ring of Honor ring, and that's where that match will take place. When Tyler beats Generico, the flagship show of TNA's calendar will be without the title that first put this company on the map. If El Generico isn't happy about that, or Paul Heyman wants to do something about it, they're more than welcome to let him know. Come pay him a visit and see how that ends for them. So Black, not willing to defend his title at Bound for Glory, but he accepts El Generico's challenge for Glory by Honor. We end the first hour with a victory for wrestling's greatest tag team. They defeat the Young Bucks in 10 minutes and 43. Haas with a Haas of pain. Benjamin carrying the match. It's a decent match, 66 rating, but it kind of shows how much difference having that hot storyline has. If this had been a match in the Bound for Glory Tag Team Series, I reckon it would have got high 70s at the very least. So again, it shows how much a hot storyline can help you. A less hot storyline is advanced, however, as Shelton Benjamin takes a microphone from ringside in what's an okay segment. He says that they saw what the Briscoes are capable of last week on Evolve, and now Jay and Mark have seen what they can do up close and personal. The only question remains, who is the greatest? Jay claimed a couple of weeks ago that he and Mark are the greatest tag team in wrestling, but they kind of have that title already covered. that is what WGTT stands for. Those letters represent the standard that Benjamin and Haas set for themselves, and they want to prove that at Glory by Honor. Jay and Mark then come out from the back, with Jay saying he knows exactly what WGTT stands for, but when you're the only ones calling yourselves the greatest, then maybe it's time for a rethink. The Briscoes have had people calling them the best tag team on the planet for years. Neither team is out here for a debate, however. Jay Briscoe is straight to the point, accepting the challenge at ROH versus TNA Glory by Honor. WGTT will challenge for the Ring of Honor tag team titles, so no huge animosity between the two teams, just a desire to prove that they are the best and also to represent their home company. Jay and Mark may not be associated with this new age of Honor, but if a Ring of Honor show's going ahead, they are certainly going to be representing the company that they were aligned with from day one. We then return to the second hour, and following another recap package looking at his return last week, D'Angelo Dinero makes his way down to the ring, smiling from ear to ear. He makes his trademark entrance, and we want to give just a few minutes for him to simply take in the reaction, hopefully, of the crowd who are delighted to see him back. He puts over how great it is back to be in front of his congregation and how happy he is to be able to say that Pope is pimping once more. Briefly touching on his journey back from injury, he says there's going to be plenty of time for him to talk about that in the very near future. But tonight, he wants to talk about what kept him going. One name, one man, the monster, Abyss. He calls him out to fight him now, next week, fight him until there is only one of them left, because when the doctors told him that he may never return to the ring, he had one image in mind: the man who broke his neck, the man who cost him over a year of his career. And in Dinero's mind, he's had so much time to think over the last 15 months. This company isn't big enough for the both of them. Appearing on the big screen, James Mitchell laughs at D'Angelo Dinero, and he says that Abyss would happily come down there and fight D'Angelo Dinero, but James Mitchell feels that this return deserves the grandest of stages. Mitchell knows that Dinero is a religious man, and he is happy to read the Pope his last rites before Abyss lays him to rest once and for all at Bound for Glory. D'Angelo Dinero may want to fight him right now, but with the challenge laid down, he accepts. Dinero versus Abyss will take place at Bound for Glory, a match 15 months in the making, and while it's not that great of a segment, D'Angelo Dinero and James Mitchell both do well when improvising, and I think that it's just a case of getting Dinero back, building some more momentum for him, and I think he will be a very, very high level competitor for us. Kind of how you've seen the company grow over the last 15 months, this would have been a pretty good rating back in June 2010 or whatever it was, but now Dinero's kind of lagging behind in that period where sort of the company's grown and everybody's got a little bit more over. The Pope is somebody who's definitely playing catch up, but hopefully we can quickly get him up to the required level. We then get a match between Awesome Kong and Velvet Sky. It lasts 5 minutes, mostly because Velvet Sky is doing whatever she can to avoid Kong. An implant buster sees Kong pick up a decisive, dominant, one-sided victory really. She's continuing to have the number of the beautiful people, and having watched helplessly from the safety of the top of the ramp, a furious Angelina Love collects Velvet Sky from ringside and orders Brooke to help carry her partner to the back. During the match, Love had sent Brooke to try and help Velvet out, but it didn't do much good. As the three of them leave, Angelina Love yells towards Awesome Kong in the ring, saying that she can't keep getting away with this. She's just attacking them unprovoked, and Angelina says that she is going to go to Paul Heyman and settle this once and for all. We then go to the back, where the beautiful people and Brooke are shown outside the office of Paul Heyman, and Angelina leaves Velvet and Brooke outside. She thinks she'll be able to talk Paul round pretty easily. She thinks it's best that they do this in private. Love demands to know what's going on, and Paul Heyman explains that the beautiful people were right when they said that no team could beat them. They've shown themselves to be in a league of their own. He's just trying to keep things interesting in the Knockouts tag team division. Since Awesome Kong appears to have their number all by herself, he's given her the chance to bring in a partner of her choosing to challenge them at Bound for Glory. Love is angry, but tries to use her feminine charm to convince Heyman otherwise. We've seen time and time again in the past this usually works. For once, she's unable to wrap the man in charge around her little finger. As Paul says simply, this match is happening. Angelina Love storms off, furious. Not only are they going to have to face Awesome Kong at Bound for Glory, but she's going to bring a partner with her, so you'd have to say that on the evidence of recent weeks, you wouldn't fancy the beautiful people's chances at the biggest show of the year. We then get a promo in the back from Sara Del Rey, this time claiming that for the last 12 months and more, she has carried the Knockouts division. From October 2010 to June 2011, she dominated all challengers and all competitors, becoming the longest reigning Knockouts champion in history. What that means is she's the greatest knockout ever, and her incredible year will be rewarded by a match at Bound for Glory. She challenges any former, current or future knockout to face her, as she issues an open challenge for that show. Walking into the shot, Madison Rayne has a little bit of an issue with this. She says you can't just make your own pay-per-view matches. If you could, Bound for Glory would be 8 hours long. Sara Del Rey's response is simple. She asks Madison what she's going to do about it. For once, Rayne doesn't have a response and Sara Del Rey walks off. She said her piece. She's issued that challenge. She's put the ball in Madison Rayne's court. If she wants to do something about it, then she's more than welcome to. The fifth match of the night sees Austin Aries return to the ring. Aries wins with a brainbuster over Alex Payne, who's on a one-night deal. A 70 is a good performance from Austin Aries, and after the match, he takes a microphone. He's had a dominant return to action, but looks to continue what he was going to say last week before Jeff Hardy interrupted him. And while he says this, he also insults Jeff Hardy quite heavily. Aries begins to talk about putting Kurt Angle down for good when he took his head off with the ROH title at No Surrender. Again, he's asking who is left. Having heard the insults from Aries, Jeff Hardy comes out from the back. Looks like there's going to be another confrontation between them, but it looks like this may have been Austin's intention, as the Kings of Wrestling come out almost immediately and jump him, confirming that this was a setup. He wanted to goad Jeff Hardy out so that those two could attack him. Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli roll Hardy into the ring as Austin Aries sets up to hit him with a brainbuster. Running out from the back, Sting looks to make the save for his tag team partner while he initially catches the trio off guard. A low blow from Austin Aries takes Sting down too. The Icon and the Enigma can't fight the numbers of the New Age of Honor, with Aries and the Kings standing over them. And what's clear now is that as hard as Jeff Hardy and Sting try to fight back against the New Age of Honor, they are going to need backup and they are going to need numbers, because that is the greatest strength of the New Age of Honor, the fact that they are all together with a singular goal. There's a lot of guys on the TNA roster, but it's a very fragmented group. They're not all working together, whereas the New Age of Honor, 16 strong or whatever it is, all have that same goal in mind. For now, it's the destruction of the TNA roster. We then get a sit-down interview with the Motor City Machine Guns, Mike Tenay congratulating them on winning the first Bound for Glory Tag Team Series. Alex Shelley speaks first, graciously and humbly, giving credit to Chris Sabin for getting the decisive falls in a number of their key victories. He says that Sabin has been on top form for months now. Sabin says that both of them have had to be at the top of their game, especially with the grueling schedule of the series. They never do things the easy way, and they admit that they ran things pretty close with their time limit draws against Beer Money and LAX, but that is what defines them as a team. They have persevered through so much change in TNA. As much as they love having this high level division to compete in, they are desperate to prove that whoever you bring in, whatever teams rise, they are still number one. They did that during the Bound for Glory series, but there's still one team in their way. Shelley then speaks about the relatively light schedule that the American Wolves have enjoyed since becoming the World Tag Team Champions, but that will not be a factor at Bound for Glory. They beat the Kings of Wrestling and WGTT in one night. They are ready for the Wolves. They've got no doubt about that, and there'll be no excuses about them being tired. They won't need them because they are confident of becoming the new World Tag Team Champions. And it's another incredible main event. I think it is to do with having storylines associated with it that makes such a massive difference, and it's definitely something that I'm going to take advantage of wherever I can. The finish comes when, during the match, Samoa Joe exposes a turnbuckle. He tries to use that to take AJ out, but AJ manages to avoid it. Eventually, Samoa Joe locks in a Kikina clutch, and in AJ's attempt to escape it, he backs Samoa Joe into the corner, Joe hitting his head on the turnbuckle that he exposed. AJ can then go to the outside and hit a phenomenal forearm, pinning Joe in 7 minutes and 19 for the 1-2-3, an 88 from AJ, an 87 by Joe, and it comes out at an incredible 90 rated match. Their chemistry showing once more, getting the crowd buzzing, and while it's a cathartic win for AJ Styles, we still do have that element of keeping Joe strong, his own tactics backfiring against him, and it's another great segment to end the show as AJ Styles sells the effects of this main event. CM Punk comes down to the ring. When the referee hands the Ring of Honor World Championship to AJ Styles, CM Punk is quickly in his face. He mockingly asks AJ, "Are you sure that's your title?" Another reference to what happened last week. The two then go nose to nose, with the commentators wondering whether they're about to come to blows. The personal animosity between the two looks close to boiling over when Bryan Danielson comes out and gets between them. Focused on CM Punk first and foremost, the guy he truly hates, AJ shoves Bryan out of the way, continuing to trash talk Punk, and it's sort of been a theme of this storyline, with them having the Glory by Honor match, with the hatred really being between AJ Styles and CM Punk. Bryan Danielson is being made to feel a little bit of a third wheel, and this angers him. He pushes his forehead into the forehead of AJ Styles and points to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship on his shoulder. He reminds AJ Styles what this is all about, what company he is supposed to represent, but AJ Styles is still focused on Glory by Honor first, then Bound for Glory, not because it's more important, but because his next challenge is CM Punk. He can't look past defending his Ring of Honor Championship in his pursuit of the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Once he's faced Punk, then he can look to Bound for Glory. As this goes on, CM Punk rolls to the ring, the heated discussion between AJ and Bryan. He's played his part, of course, CM Punk has, in stirring the pot, and he watches from the top of the ramp as AJ and Bryan continue to go at it. There's no indication that these two are going to start fighting or anything, but it's clear that Punk is enjoying those two being at odds while he manages to get out of there and watch. He did struggle when going off script actually, so this probably would have been better, but he benefits from his catchphrase, and it's a really good way to end the show. Another excellent episode of Impact, not quite as good as some of the others have been, but with a fantastic main event of that level, there's not going to be any complaints, of course. An overall rating of 84 is really good, and we'll now go in to see what we've got for Evolve this week. And the episode begins with the Evolve champion coming out. He wants to cut a promo and insists that there will be no interruptions tonight. This is his show after all. Of course, that doesn't work at all. Desmond Wolfe comes out. He refuses to give him a second. Lethal hides behind Maria Kanellis, as he tends to do. When ODB comes out, she takes down Maria. Jay Lethal manages to get away. Wolfe so close to getting his hand on him. Wolfe then tells Jay Lethal that the hunter has become the hunted and asks how it feels now the shoe is on the other foot. He said that he was going to make Jay Lethal's life a living hell, at least until next week, because next week on Evolve, it'll be Jay Lethal versus Desmond Wolfe, and ODB getting involved there just to give a little bit of comeuppance to Maria. Also, in game, Desmond Wolfe and ODB are dating. That's not really why I did it, but it's just an interesting thing that I actually twigged onto after I'd come up with the idea of ODB getting involved in that. So really it's a couple via couple situation, but not something we're going to mention on screen. Eric Young then joins Douglas Williams at ringside and copies his British mannerisms during the entrance. I say British mannerisms, Douglas Williams mannerisms. This was originally supposed to be a tag team match, but then Hernandez got injured working in Mexico, so I've turned it into a singles match. Nonetheless, Homicide defeats Doug Williams, Eric Young at ringside, playing the buffoon basically. It's a good match actually, and Homicide with a good win in a rare singles outing. He then stands tall, and Williams is angered by EY's behaviour during the match. He wasn't even sure why he was coming out with him, and he basically takes it as EY mocking him, whereas this is of course Young's continuing identity crisis, I suppose we'd call it. We then get a video package for the return of D'Angelo Dinero, and he's coming for Abyss. Neither of them should have been on screen really, but it doesn't actually matter. We then get a promo from ODB explaining she got involved because she is sick of Maria. She's sick of her running her mouth without ever having to pay for it, and she's going to stop her getting involved next week. That is for certain. We then get the second match of the night where Taylor Wilde defeats Jazz in 8 minutes and 8 seconds with a Northern Lights suplex. Average performance from Taylor Wilde. She then celebrates, but it is clear that as Hamada joins her in the ring, there is still some tension between the friends and tag team partners. We then get an interview, Mickie James speaking to Christy Hem, a mutual friend of Mickie and Tara, who's very much found herself caught in the middle in this bitter rivalry, and she tells her that she accepts the challenge of Tara. She isn't in the business of trying to end careers. Either way, it looks like Tara is going to leave, so she accepts the challenge. She just has one request. This started inside Six Sides of Steel when Tara betrayed her after they lost the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. She wants this to end inside the Six Sides of Steel. She will agree to defend her title. She'll agree to the title v career stipulation as long as it happens inside the solid steel cage. We then get the main event. Not very good, to be fair. I thought the Wolves would be able to carry Creed and Dutt, but in 11 minutes 58, they win when Eddie Edwards submits Consequences Creed with an Achilles lock. They stand tall, confronted by Motor City Machine Guns, who are basically returning the favour. Richards and Edwards have been coming out during their wins. Shelley and Sabin invite the World Tag Team Champions to watch them next week as they face Edwards and Richards' New Age of Honor allies, Future Shock, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly versus Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin on Impact. A 71 is decent, helped by that final segment which got an 84. Didn't notice that, but that is really, really good. So it's another good week of shows, really. Obviously, Evolve's not going to hit the heights that Impacts get, but our focus is on TNA Impact, of course, and hopefully Evolve assisting us in furthering some of the other storylines and hopefully gaining heat to as many storylines as we can. I'm going to change Evolve a little bit after Bound for Glory, but I'll get to that when we actually reach that point. But I'm sure again it'll be excellent feedback for Impact, great feedback for Evolve, so we can see that every show that we're doing at the minute is doing really, really well. Alex Payne leaving because he was only on a one-time deal. Dave Prazzett wants to be brought up. Mickie James getting praise from Shelton Benjamin. That is another week down on the huge build to Bound for Glory, or Bound for Glory weekend as it's being called, because we also have Glory by Honor on the Saturday, which will be followed by the biggest show of the year. But two fantastic cards coming together. We've got Briscoe's WGTT for the tag team titles of Ring of Honor, AJ Styles v CM Punk for ROH's world title. So you can already see that that's not a show that's going to be secondary. That is a show that is also going to be packed with really big matches, and Bound for Glory, of course, coming together. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the build and looking forward to that huge pay-per-view. I know I certainly am, and we'll be back with the next episode next week. Thank you for watching as always. Bound for Glory 2011 getting closer and closer.